Welcome everyone to another Forever Patriots special edition where we are reacting to the Republican National Convention, which definitely was much more exciting than last week's virtual boring convention, otherwise known as the Democratic National Convention or Anti-American Convention. And here to react from the Cornell Review, we have Joseph Silverstein. How you doing, Joseph?
What's going on, Anthony? Thanks for having me.
All right. And then I have my co-host, Joseph Buliga. How you doing, Joseph?
I'm doing quite well. How about yourself, Anthony?
I'm doing great. So, like I said, we're reacting to the Republican National Convention, one of the best American programs that I have seen in such a long time. What was everyone's initial reaction to the Republican National Convention? Joseph Silverstein, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it was overall much better than the previous week than the Democratic National Convention. It celebrated the country. It celebrated the president's achievements. I thought most of the speakers were good. Of course, given the situation we're in with coronavirus, it's not going to be the same as a regular convention. We had a little bit of an awkward moment, perhaps, with Kimberly Guilfoyle at one point. But generally speaking, I thought it was very positive. I thought the production value was good. And most importantly, the messaging was good. I mean, the message was one of hope for the country, hope for the country's future, respect for the country's past, while realizing that it's not perfect, but we are still the best country on the face of the planet. And if you contrast it with the DNC, there's no comparison.
Right, yes. And, you know, one of the things that I loved about Kimberly Guilfoyle, she was really talking about how exceptional America was. I mean, you could just, it's almost like she was preaching a sermon, really. I mean, her speech was amazing. Joseph Buliga, initial thoughts on the Republican National Convention?
I just have to say it was one of the most patriotic things I've ever watched. The setup was unbelievable. You have to take into consideration, every aspect of it was 10 times, 100 times better than the DNC. You couldn't even, the DNC doesn't even come close. I mean, you had, great speakers. I really loved the way Mike Pence gave his speech. I don't think I've heard a better speech from him. The speaking was great. The setup, the last night, the fireworks show, the singing. It was great. I just got to say, he put the Democrats to shame. And I think the Democrats are shaking in their boots right now.
Yeah, no, I got you there. Now, we do have joining us Jacob Buehrer. He is with the Indiana High School Republicans. How are you doing, Jacob? Turn on your audio. While we wait for him, Joseph Silverstein, one of the speakers that we did expect from last week was Nicholas Sandmann. He really got CNN, the Washington Post, a bunch of the other mainstream media platforms, and really, CNN, they were disgusted to even play that.
Yeah, well, CNN didn't play a lot of things. I have to say, at parts of it, I think Fox was cutting in and out, and I wasn't happy with that either. But Nick Sandmann, I mean, great speech. Perhaps because he talked about God a little bit. Maybe that's why CNN cut his speech. That's a big possibility. But look, I mean, what they did to him is unacceptable. What they did to him is wrong. And it's something that can't be tolerated. And he won $250 million. And by the way, I want to say a quick hello. I see Jacob just got on. Jacob is a younger conservative than me. I'm a young conservative. Yes. But I got involved around his age in politics and local politics. So I just want to say congratulations. I've seen you on social media, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Jacob, you're with the Indiana High School Republicans. So we're happy that you've come on. And what was your initial reaction to the Republican National Convention?
Me or
yeah, you. What's your initial reaction?
Well, I think the Republican convention went super good and smoothly. It went a lot better than the DNC. When you have Billie Eilish on stage, you're not getting the blue collar vote in the Midwest. When you have all these speakers who were born in more of the Rust Belt area, like the guy who was on the RNC last night from Cleveland, it's going to help relate more to the people and blue collar workers. And the Rust Belt, which is an important place to win, the RNC really helped Rust Belt voters say, hey, we're here for you. So when I look at the convention, it looks so much better for Trump because he had speakers who showed the integrity of how much they like America. and that's gonna help us in a general election a lot more than at the DNC convention that a bunch of celebrities who don't really represent America.
Yeah, no, that's a great point made. Joseph, which speaker did you enjoy listening to? Joseph Buliga.
Like I said earlier, Mike Pence, I think my favorite speech was Mike Pence's speech. I do have to go down. Madison Cawthorn gave an amazing speech. The way he stood up, honestly, he's probably one of my favorite young conservatives. He's energetic. He's the right guy to be a congressman. I'm excited to see him get elected to the Congress. Vernon Jones, he came out. He's the Democrat from Georgia, and he's a Trump supporter now. The way that they came out and they organized this convention. I don't think I can really point to one specific one that I liked the most. They were all great, but if I had to choose one, it'd probably be Mike Pence's.
Yeah, no, he gave an exceptional speech. He's one that talks about his faith a lot, and that's really going to bring in the evangelical vote really well. And that's one of the things that the president has done is he's talked about the Christian faith more so than any other president that I've seen. Plus, prioritize the Christian faith. Some people are like saying, why would you as a Christian support Donald Trump when he's been through 3 marriages and 2 divorcements and uses foul language like up in the air? But the reason why I do support him is that he's open to talking about the Christian faith. He has actually prioritized Christian persecution over the hoax climate change at the UN. It doesn't get any better than that. And he proclaimed churches essential during COVID-19 when these Democratic governors say shut down the churches. Oh, but we'll leave abortion clinics open and liquor and bars open.
As well as rioting and protesting as well.
But yeah, that's right. So really, that's why me as an evangelical voter, I'm supporting Donald Trump. Now, one of the other things that I liked, Madison Cawthorn, like Joseph Buliga mentioned, he gave an exceptional speech. Stood up at the end. I mean, that's got to make the football players who kneel for the flag when the national anthem is played. I mean, that just makes them look like absolute
Not
idiots.
to interrupt you, Anthony, but another great thing I just kind of thought of this was Herschel Walker's speech. He did it, for him to come out and say that as a former NFL athlete. That's, it's a pretty powerful statement.
You're right. Joseph, what did you think of Madison Cawthorn?
I thought he had a good speech. I didn't get to catch the whole thing, but I saw the moment where he got up off the wheelchair and stood up, and I thought that was very inspirational and something that's personally motivational too, beyond just politics in the country. When you see someone that has obvious problems, that's willing to put themselves out there and struggle to stand, I mean, that's what America is all about. It's about rising up to the challenge of whether it be the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the COVID pandemic, after 9/11, whatever the case may be. But that's a representation of what America is. And it also reminds me of Dan Crenshaw's speech where he encouraged everyone to be heroes. And the hero isn't the victim. The hero isn't the person that has grievances against the society. And obviously someone with grievances against the society, hopefully we don't want people having legitimate grievances, and we could have things that are good in society. But that being said, being the victim doesn't make you a hero. Rising above victimhood and rising above challenges makes you a hero. So that was a reminder of that. I will also say, to note on a previous comment that we were talking about with regard to Trump's Christianity, he's also the first president to speak at the March for the babies at the pro-life event in D.C. Even President Ronald Reagan didn't speak at March for Life. And Reagan is a great president by all means, but President Reagan actually called in because perhaps it was a little too politically controversial. So certainly Trump is an imperfect man, as we all are, imperfect men, imperfect women. But that being said, he's someone who has been a great ally to Christianity. And he's also very honest with the voters. He doesn't try to put on, I think that there's a decent amount of politicians who they sort of hold up the Bible and they use that as a political shield. And I, as a Catholic, don't like them to do that because I think that it's a sort of like fraudulent way. We saw, for example, with the president of Liberty University, what happened with him. I'm not sure if you are all aware of the scandal. I probably shouldn't even get it. I shouldn't get into it because I don't want to talk about it in front of Jacob, quite frankly. Jacob's a little
I know already
too scared
about it. It's no big deal. I know everything about it already.
But that being said, though, so the point is Trump is someone who, look, he has his flaws. He acknowledges them, and we all see him for what he is, and we accept him for what he is. And I think there's a great authenticity there that I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah, no, you've made some very great points. Now, Jacob, I got to ask you, who was your favorite speaker by far at the Republican National Convention?
Great question. Well, two things I'd also like to add on after this answer, if it's fine, for like 30 seconds. My favorite speaker, I really thought it was the person who was born. I thought it was the person who was born in Cleveland in poverty and basically really talked about the American dream and how he had a father who worked 2 jobs and how he had a mother who worked 2 jobs as well, and how he was born in Cleveland in the Rust Belt and then in a big industrial town, and how they worked super hard, and now how he's working for the president. And I think that American dream thing about how he was basically talking about, hey, Trump cares about people who maybe were not born rich. He cares about everybody. He cares about giving them an opportunity. I thought that was a super good speech, and it's going to help dreamers. It's going to help people who may not be advantaged, who feel like at times they don't matter. It's going to lift them up, and it's going to end up helping Trump to get more votes in November.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
And
now,
to add on to that, if I could real quick, if it's
go ahead.
fine. The other thing is, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Trump has a lot of coalitions. One thing that I think is good is just this week alone, he added like 10 or 11 new coalitions. I'm looking at the page right now, but he's got a bunch of it if you guys would like to check it out later. The thing that I really like about it is he's communicating to people of all different religions. He has Muslims for Trump, evangelicals for Trump. And then he has Ukrainian Americans for Trump and Latinos for Trump. And he's really reaching out to everybody, showing them that he's caring. And he had a lot of diversity this week on the RNC stage, which is going to help him a lot in November, showing that he's a person who cares about different backgrounds.
Yeah, you're a great point there. There's a lot of diversity at the RNC. He had a lot of African American speakers. I wonder if he had more than the DNC. I didn't count, but it certainly seemed like it. Anybody's reaction to that?
Well, I think we certainly should celebrate the diversity that was on the stage and also the diversity of ideas as well. And it goes to show you, people like to say that President Trump has racial animosity towards certain groups. And from what I see, that couldn't be further from the truth. And that was really displayed at the convention. There were plenty of Herschel Walker's speech I found to be very moving. I thought that was very good. I thought Dr. Ben Carson's speech was very good. Someone actually said, one of my friends said, Ben Carson's not that charismatic. And I said, he's not charismatic, but he's very intelligent. And maybe that's why he didn't win the nomination. But to have him as sort of an intellectual contributor to the conservative movement and someone working in the Housing Urban Development Center, and he penned a great op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, co-authored it with Donald Trump recently about the suburbs policy. Ben Carson is great. So I celebrate the diversity. And it's diversity of thought, too, that should be celebrated. I'm happy to see that as well.
Yeah, no, and they've been making great moves on the public house, especially in New York City, which they did point out in the convention this week. They're doing a great job on the housing and urban center developments and to try to revitalize those areas and really help out those communities. Joseph Buliga. Accomplishments that Trump talked about last night. I have like an entire list of accomplishments right here. I could read some, but I just wanted to give you a chance to point out what you thought, what was great that you heard last night about his accomplishments.
One of the things that the RNC did very well on an actual agenda. The DNC, all they want, you can totally tell, it's a facade for socialism. But if you look at the RNC, you look at Trump's administration, you look at Trump's last 4 years, he's been beaten day in and day out, and yet he still was able to accomplish the lowest unemployment rate for Blacks, for Latinos, lowest employment in 65 years for women. It's astounding. It's amazing what the president can do, and yet the media won't give him credit. The Democrats have been bashing him since day one. It was first the Russian collusion, second was Ukraine. Then they went on to this whole COVID thing, and they're using it against him. The list can go on and on. They won't give him credit. But the thing that Trump has that they don't have is he has a winning record to win. He's been an economy this great.
Right, yeah. And I mean, really, the media, they're in collusion with the Democrats. That's why they're talking negative against him all the time. 92% of coverage is negative against Donald Trump. Jacob.
Yep.
Trump
So
accomplishments.
to add on to that about diversity and everything and the big accomplishments that he has had, when it comes to African Americans voting, when they're going to look at it, and this is something that a lot of young African American people are posting videos of, and one of them went viral back in June. The person said, "I don't want Joe Biden. He was in office for 47 years. He said racist things that are sort of sketchy. Trump has never said anything like that." And then also, who has helped the African American community more? When you look at the accomplishments, Trump has the lowest African American unemployment rate in 50 years, whereas what did Biden do in his 47 years to help them? So I think that's going to be a big thing come election day of who's going to help the minorities and who's going to create more jobs along the way for every American. And Trump has the record of accomplishment there, where Biden, he doesn't have a big record of accomplishments that really helped hardworking Americans.
Yes, and Kim Klacik, I think that's how it's pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong. Pointed out a couple of weeks ago what's happening in Baltimore because of Democrat policies. That went viral. I'm going to give Joseph Silverstein time to give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, she's great, first of all. She's a young African-American female Republican, someone with a lot of charisma, someone who has a very bright future ahead of her in politics. And I saw the video, and she's spot on. You need pro-growth policies. You need strong police. You need school choice. These are the things that are going to fix the inner cities, and these are the things that are going to uplift all communities, white, black, Hispanic, Asian American, everybody. These are the things that work. And the Republican Party is the party of those policies that do work. The Democratic Party is the party of destruction, destroying black businesses with the rioters and then bailing out the rioters. 14 staffers on Joe Biden's campaign donated to the bail funds during the riots. Joe Biden has already vowed to defund and to do away with the charter schools. So that's issue 2. The opportunity zones, the squad, AOC's squad, has already vowed to go after the opportunity zones, which have led to historic investments in the African American and Hispanic communities. Yep. These are all things that have had very tangible benefits. And if Joe Biden becomes president, and if Pelosi and AOC and Rashida Tlaib and others take power, they're going to destroy all of the progress that the Trump administration has made and that the Republican Party has made on all these critical issues facing the black community.
Yeah, and Trump worked with Tim Scott on that. Tim Scott, U.S. Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, on that. And Tim Scott was trying to get that passed. I mean, he offered to take on 20, I believe it was, amendments from the Democrats just so that the bill would be perfected. And then they still continue to say, no, we don't like it. I don't think it's because he's black. It's because he's a Republican.
Well, the other thing, too, first of all, is that the Democrats in Congress held up that bill because they don't really want a solution on this issue. Mm-hmm. They want it to be an issue because if there's a solution, they're afraid that it won't be good for them in November. They're afraid it won't be good for them politically. That's number one. The second thing is Pelosi actually called the Republicans the enemies of the state. So I guess the rioters, I don't know if anyone saw, I'm sure you all did, what happened to Rand Paul last night, that they were trying to assault him. They assaulted a police officer, and then they were screaming at Rand Paul, say her name, meaning Breonna Taylor. And the ironic thing is that Rand Paul is actually the senator, a Republican senator, but the senator who's drafted the no-knock bill in Congress that's named after Breonna Taylor. So whether you support the bill or not, and there's some controversy as to the bill, but these rioters are trying to kill Rand Paul, and he's actually passing legislation that would be beneficial to their alleged cause. So this isn't about Breonna Taylor. This isn't about George Floyd. This isn't about reducing instances of police brutality. This is about the destruction of the American way of life, the abolishment of law enforcement, the destruction of the country, and we won't let it happen.
No, we definitely won't. And Tim Scott did give a great, passionate speech. What was it, Tuesday night or Monday night? Either one of those. Jacob, thoughts on
I wanted.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thoughts on what we're talking about, with opportunity zones and George Floyd and all these protests that are going on.
Well, here's the thing. I think the Democrats really could have done better here when it came to the riots. If when George Floyd died, they should have worked with Republicans on the bill, and it would have probably helped them to win some of these Senate seats back. But with the rioting and looting, it really hurts the Democrats because, it shows these people who's leading these big cities. Who are your congressional officials leading cities like Atlanta, New York, Seattle, and all these cities? And another thing to touch on real quick, I remember, Joe, I think you talked about the squad. John Kasich at the DNC acted like the Democratic Party was moving more moderate, and I disagree with him on that because 3 or 4 people in the last month beat an incumbent Democrat who are 10 times more liberal than that incumbent Democrat. So you're 100% right how the squad is definitely getting bigger and how it's a scary threat, and it's going to end up helping Republicans because America is not going to go for all these liberal ideas. Main Street America will not be going for what AOC is going for in the Bronx.
That's 100% correct. And one thing I want to add too, as you noted, these people are far to the left of Nancy Pelosi, of what we think of as classical liberals or just liberals in general. Just 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was around your age and President Obama was president, it's unthinkable that at the time he would have supported some of these policies that the squad is now supporting. Now, he may have quietly supported them and hoped for them, but he would have never come out publicly and made some of the statements that are being made. And the other thing, too, is these people, they're not even liberals. Liberals, if you think back to 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they're supposed to stand for things like freedom of speech and openness to letting people sort of live their lives the way they want to. And there's always a tug of war between conservatives and liberals and a battle to be had in the political arena, but that's within the system. This is a group of people, of Marxists, who want to overthrow the entire system, and they're taking over the party. And one last thing I'll note, you'll sort of realize it as you move through college and as you get older, there's a lot of Republicans in terms of leadership positions that want to virtue signal and that want to be at the forefront of whatever's next in the quote-unquote conservative movement, and they really turn a blind eye to many of these problems. Like you said, for example, the squad. Why is John Kasich standing there and endorsing the same candidates as the squad? And the reason for it is because he thinks it's best for himself politically. He thinks he's virtue signaling. And most importantly, I don't think that John Kasich, maybe he doesn't have the intelligence, maybe he doesn't have the historical alertness to it, but I don't think he realizes what's at play, that these are actual Marxists that are taking over the Democratic Party.
And to touch on John Kasich real quick for just a few seconds, since I'm sure you guys have to move on. I used to live in Ohio. I lived in Ohio while he was governor. And I think one of the reasons why I really wanted to speak at the DNC is because his political move in 2016, he lost a primary. He didn't even end up winning Ohio for winning the Republican nomination. And he didn't even end up going to the Republican convention in his state because Trump was the nominee. And I think he's so mad about that. Like you said, what is his next big political move? That he said, well, the Republicans hate me now, so that's why I'm going to go and endorse these candidates. But he's not realizing how dangerous, like you said, the squad is, and that it's not people like Biden from the 1990s who are moderates. It's people like AOC. It's people like Nancy Pelosi who have been in forever. And are those candidates really efficient, and have they really helped the problems in their state?
100% right. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to take a break real quick. When we come back, we are going to cover Trump accomplishments and what's coming up in the general election. So stay tuned with us, guys.
This is a movement like we've never seen in the history of our country.
Wisconsin is Trump country.
And that's what this fight is all about. We're taking on the failed political establishment and restoring government of, by, and for the people. It's the people. You're the people. You won the election.
We love this country. We love Donald Trump.
Promises made, promises kept.
We support President Trump.
This is epic.
Donald Trump is our president! With every last ounce of heart and hope and sweat and soul, we are going to make our stand. We are going to stand for liberty. We are going to stand for justice. We are going to stand for freedom. And we are going to stand for the sacred rights given to us by the hand of Almighty God. You joined our movement, the greatest movement in the history of our country. You protected your family. You defended your dignity. You recaptured your destiny. And you took back your country with that great election 2.5 years ago. We are one united movement, one united people, and one United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
You have always been loyal to this nation. Now you finally have a president who is loyal to you. Every day between now and November 2020, we are going to keep on working, we are going to keep on fighting, and we are going to keep on winning, winning, winning. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to our Forever Patriots special where we are reacting to the Republican National Convention. All right, guys. Trump accomplishments. I know we discussed this earlier, but we got to discuss it some more. So, any more accomplishments that anybody wants to point out? Free range here for
I have
anyone wants to
some.
speak up.
What do you like?
Jump right in. Go ahead.
All right, dude.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Jacob. We want to hear from you first.
So a major accomplishment that I think he's done is back when COVID first started, all of the governors thanked him because he truly helped them. And I think that's going to turn out to be a big accomplishment because they're going to say, even though he doesn't have the best relationship with all these people, what did he do to cross party lines? He helped these governors. He helped them in whatever way they needed help with, no matter it was with more masks or with more ventilators. He was there for them. And I think that's a major accomplishment about how he can truly work with both parties if the other party's ready to work with him. And another big accomplishment is he has reformed the whole entire justice system. He has put so many new circuit court judges on. If Ruth were to die soon or something,
well, let's hope not. By the way, I just
let's hope not.
Let's
yes, I hope nothing happens like that. But if something were to happen, he would almost get 3 Supreme Court judges on, and that's a pretty big achievement.
That would be.
To be able to get 3 in a first term.
Be awesome.
And I would like to say I hope nothing like that happens.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Already getting 2 judges on, that is a huge achievement. And when you look at how he has fixed the circuit courts and some of the lower courts, even with Mitch McConnell and a Republican Senate, it's going to send a message to the voters that, hey, they are fixing the justice system. which is a big accomplishment because it needed fixed, and a lot of Americans realized that in 2016.
Right, and he has overseen the greatest economy ever in American history. I think it's 7 million jobs created so far? Probably more than that.
It's 9 million.
9. Okay. More Americans off of food stamps and into the workforce. That's a big accomplishment too. Barack Obama put Americans on food stamps. Trump got them off of them. That is a big accomplishment.
Well, certainly the Trump economy has lifted everybody up. That's a big accomplishment. Prior to the COVID pandemic, the GDP was at record highs.
Right.
To Jacob's point about the Supreme Court, so far we have Brett Kavanaugh, who was treated very unfairly, but he still got in, and Neil Gorsuch, who got in. And I'm sure in a second term, there will be more appointments. Now, that being said, again, to reiterate, and Jacob already said he wishes Ruth Bader Ginsburg the best. I also wish her the best, actually, even though I disagree with most of what she says. I have a lot of respect for her. She's a Cornell graduate, and I'm a Cornell student, so we kind of like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And she also had a friendship, supposedly, with Anthony Scalia. They were very close friends, actually, in the Supreme Court. Very close friends, even though they were on polar opposite sides of the aisle. But that being said, RGB and many others are talking about retirement. They're getting a little up there in age where it's probably time to step away soon. So the next presidential election will certainly have the next president will have at least a few Supreme Court picks. And what we don't want is progressive leftist judges who, instead of interpreting the law, are creating the law in the judicial branch. We don't want that to happen. And we also don't want the threats like FDR did, that he was going to stack the court. If you remember FDR, when he was president in the 30s, he threatened to stack the court. Biden and the Democrats,
they want to pack it.
They've alluded to something similar. So we want to avoid that as a situation. But look, Space Force, we have to talk about. Space Force is an accomplishment that he did, which is a serious, people like to poke fun at it, but it's actually a serious geopolitical accomplishment. So there's been a lot of positive things about this administration, about the Trump presidency, and I hope we can keep it going.
And then he's also reformed the VA, which has been badly needed. I mean, our veterans, they're finally getting the care that they need. I'm proud that has occurred. Joseph Buliga, I'll let you react to that.
I was going to add, I have a few things to add, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Promises made, promises kept. That's what, Trump's running on. You got border wall. Trump promised a border wall. He's got, almost 400. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
I think he said it was 300 miles, and they're adding on 10 miles per week, I believe it was. That's big.
So there we go. So that's huge. That's another accomplishment. Promises made, promises kept. Another thing, the Iran deal. He said that he would take us out of the Iran deal. And what did he do? Take us out of the Iran deal. Promises made, promises kept. He also moved and recognized Jerusalem as the rightful capital of Israel. That's a big thing. No one's ever done that, obviously. North Korea, he met with Kim Jong-un. He sat down, and since that, there has not been a single ballistic launch or long distance. And then obviously the economy, and then, you guys touched on it a little bit, the Supreme Court judges being able to get 2 Supreme Court judges, conservative Supreme Court judges on the Supreme Court is a big accomplishment.
Yes. And of course, I do have the number here. I was talking about the food stamps earlier. It's 3.9 million. That's big.
Huge.
And
Huge.
He has gotten lowest black unemployment ever before COVID hit, lowest Hispanic unemployment, and I'm talking about pre-COVID terms now here, lowest women's unemployment, I think in 57 years, if I remember correctly, that's what they're saying. So the women should be looking at Trump and saying, that's the president who, he is pro-woman, giving them their jobs and all. The Democratic Party, they claim to be for women, but who's done more for women? And who has more women up in these very high positions in the White House even?
Could I add on to something real quick about how he's really helped out? Human trafficking is a huge issue. One of the biggest issues, I think. And
Yes.
Trump has invested a lot of taxpayers' money into fixing that issue, into making it wide known, and how you can prevent it, and how you can really fix the issue. And he even donated his third quarter salary, campaign salary for quarter 3 to fight the human trafficking war. And Ivanka Trump, who is a White House advisor, his daughter, of course, she has very much been talking about how it's a big issue. And I think it really stands out. Who's there helping the woman? Who's fighting human trafficking right now? Did Obama administration or Bush administration do anything about human trafficking? Not really. Where you've had Donald Trump who has came in and said, you know what, this is a big issue. We need to save our children. We need to help our woman out. We need to help everybody out. And he's made it a big issue. And he's spent a lot of time working on it. And trying to make the issue known.
Yeah. You go ahead, Joseph.
One thing I just like to add is, I don't think there's ever been a president so pro-American, American worker ever before. He's looking out for the best of the people. He's not a typical politician. He knows what's good for this country. He runs the country like a business. He says, if you're not doing your job, you're fired. And that's how it should be. And, I think that a lot of people like that and admired that about him.
Two things I was going to add on. He ended Title X funding. No more money goes to Planned Parenthood. That's good. And, you talk about Donald Trump not being a politician. This is why Washington hates him. Just wanted to point that out. And now, we're going to get ready to go. We've covered a lot of accomplishments. The Republican convention. There's so many accomplishments that we could cover. We can't cover them all tonight. We'll probably have to do a special edition covering all the accomplishments because there's just so many. Anyway, we have got to go. So, I want to thank everybody for being here. Joseph Silverstein, Cornell Review, and Jacob Buehrer of Indiana High School Republicans. Thank you for coming on. And then my co-host, Joseph Buliga. Thank you for coming on as well. Anyway, So, thank you to all of our Forever Patriots audience for coming and joining us tonight. We will be back later on. This was the reaction to the Republican National Convention. I want to thank everybody for coming on once again. Everybody have a great night. Trump 2020.
Thank you.